Good evening. Welcome to the March 3rd Select Board meeting. This meeting will be broadcast live and recorded by Foxborough Cable Access. We'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are going to immediately go into executive session, and we'll be coming out for a regular session for 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Vote, please, or a
Yep. Motion to enter into executive session to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining or contract negotiations with non-union personnel regarding the contract for the finance director, Marie Almodovar, and discuss deployment and funding of security personnel or strategy with respect to security related to World Cup being held at Gillette Stadium, 1 Patriot Place.
Second. Mark, yes.
Stephanie, yes.
Bill, yes?
Amy, yes.
Debbie, yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you at 7. Okay, welcome back to the Select Board meeting of March 3rd. Start with citizens' input. Do we have any? Anybody online that you know of? No? Okay. The 119 Morse Street regulatory agreement actually has been asked to be put on hold, so that we will not be discussing that tonight. So we can go right to the annual town meeting warrant articles. Oh, yeah, sorry. Would you like to come up?
Hello.
Just so the board knows, because I'm also the chair of the building committee, I will be participating in the discussion part of this for both of these items that the schools are bringing forward.
Okay, so the first article, Article 12, is for the sewer connection for the Taylor School, to transfer available funds for the sum of money to be expended under the direction of the school building committee. So as Mr. Yukna has said, he's also the chair of the permanent school building committee, of which we are eternally grateful. And that is the first article. As far as specific questions, I will say that being the chair of the permanent building committee, he's going to be better positioned to answer those questions.
So similar to what we did, what the building committee did with the Borough project, we tried to get the sewer connections to the building prior to going into the construction phase and planning phase, just as a way of mitigating cost, number one, and number two, because it really is under the town's control for the sewer. As you may or may not know or remember, when they did the sewer line for Walnut Knoll and for the
Community center?
the golf course, the lines were brought up, and there was money in the appropriation to actually bring the line down North High Street, so it is really at the back door of the Taylor School. This money of $100,000 would be basically to tie the line from there to the school, install new tanks and pumps, so that it will be fully operational. This is, I believe, the last town building that isn't on town sewer, so we would be
Public
able to
safety,
achieve
but
that.
we're working on that.
Which one?
Public safety, we're working on it.
Oh, correct.
Yeah,
correct.
we'll get that one soon.
So that's what this article is about. Any questions?
Pretty simple.
And similar to the Borough project for when,
Exactly the
when
same
we
thing.
connected.
Yeah, we did the same thing, yep. Got it done the summer before we went into construction on that. The second one is the actual feasibility phase. As you've been advised previously, the MSBA did include us in this year's round of grants to start. As you know, it's a multi-phase scenario. The first part of it really doesn't require cost of the town. The second one, which is the feasibility, is what does. But we want to bring this to town meeting, not at a special. We want to bring it at the annual town meeting because it's a considerable consideration financially. The original hope was that the roughly $1 million that we would need on the feasibility phase for architects and owners project managers would come from the closing out of the borough project and the DPW project excess funds. Problem is, after bond council took a look at that, is that a quote-unquote feasibility study on its own is only bondable for 5 years, and the 2 bonds that are out there are 20-year bonds, so you can't use the money in the same sense. If the feasibility phase and everything else had already been approved, you could lump the feasibility phase in with the construction phase, and we could have used those funds. So, in talking to Marie and looking at the propositions, that if we use free cash to do this, first of all, we do have a capital stabilization that we started to build. It's got about $1.5 million in it. It was going to get more money this year. If we end up too tight, we can delay putting that additional stabilization money in and instead, fund this. In the end, as soon as we go to the next phase, assuming that the town approves the appropriation for the Taylor renovation and expansion, then all the money from the borough project and the excess money from the DPW could be moved into the project at that point. So we're still going to use it. It's just a matter of we can't use it in this particular phase.
Okay.
Questions?
No.
Questions?
Actually, I do have one quick question. I think I know the answer,
Okay.
is, so when the old senior center gets sold, can we ever appropriate that money towards something? Not for it not to, does it actually go into the general fund and then get appropriated? Or, like, I was wondering if, like, could that be funds that we could use for this?
I believe it could, but we'd have to ask Marie, because I don't know if it's a general fund thing or because it's a town asset, it gets treated differently.
Okay.
So, unlike when you sell property like we did on Mechanic Street, that goes back to the general fund. Okay? But this is an asset of the town, and I believe that you could do it at town meeting, but again, I'll defer to her to actually do the kind of a confirmation of that. Okay. Sorry.
Any other questions?
No, that was good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, ladies.
Nice to see you as well.
Is Catherine here? Oh, yeah, Catherine, come on up. And I assume Paige, you'll be assisting on this one, maybe? No? Okay.
Nope. I
On
mean,
your own, Catherine.
I need to, but she's got it.
Hi, I'm Catherine Feerick. I'm the Director of Land Use and Economic Development. I have 4 items to discuss for town meeting. And it's up to you if you have time to do the full presentation. Otherwise, I can just do a very brief summary and overview.
I think we have time,
wanna
because we
respect
can't start to 8.
Can't start till 8 on the next
So
one,
we have
so
to
we
wait till
do
8,
have time,
so
yeah.
filibuster away.
Filibuster, hooray. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
And again, there was a presentation. I don't know if it's loaded or not.
I
so-
think Katie's doing it.
Okay.
Katie, are you doing the PowerPoint? Yeah. Perfect.
All right, so I'll just do a little bit of background explanation on this one then. This is the Neponset Avenue Overlay District. This is a proposal to create a new zoning overlay district that would sit upon and also influence the underlying zoning along Neponset Avenue. And that this is going to be, in response to and in consideration of the future of that site, because the owner's currently selling over 50 acres of land. And anytime that you hear a number that big in a community like Foxborough, it's worth taking a look at it and seeing where the future will take us. So most of the site right now, because it is a former industrial use, It's still zoned general industrial. There are a couple little fragments of parcels that have an R15, which is a higher density, single-family type of, and also missing middle housing type of zone right now. And, but most of it is general industrial. So that allows things like factories, mechanics bays, self-storage, vehicle storage, also uses like retail, office, restaurants, and cultural facilities. So it does offer a little bit more than when you hear what general industrial is. However, when you have a general industrial zone, that means that by right, any of those uses can be located in that area. They wouldn't have to come through the planning board. They could go directly to the buildings department and get their permits that way. And as long as they're meeting dimensional requirements and building code, they're free to proceed. So it makes sense to take a look at whether or not that's what's wanted there. The surrounding context is largely single-family homes and small-scale businesses, with the exception of the Cohasset office of Schneider Electric, who's the current property owner. They are retaining that use. But mainly it's small retail, small commercial type uses, and mainly post-war single-family home neighborhood. So talking about the process, the town has had a community meeting. They formed a working group of residents. I'm not going to go through everything that's been done so far, but right now there's draft regulations and there's a draft concept plan that are available on the town website under the Land Use and Economic Development webpage. There's a tab called Neponset Avenue. You can find all the materials there. So what we're doing at this point is seeing what kinds of comments we're getting from the residents. Unfortunately, we had a community engagement session scheduled for last week, and we got snowed out. We did a virtual one anyway, just because I thought it was a good idea to just get it recorded, get it up on the website, make sure that residents can access the information as they want it. But we will be hosting another community engagement session down the line. We're also going to have a final plan presentation for residents.
You got to point it towards the
Back.
room.
That's
Yeah.
right. So the map that's up on the screen right now, the project background, that just shows the properties that are affected. As you can see, it's the lion's share of the corridor for Neponset Avenue. To the right of this map is Mechanic Street, and to the left of this map is Chestnut Street. There's a railroad line that's to the south, and the town common is kind of it's. I said south, but it's actually west, and to the southwest is the town common area, just to orient folks that might be new to this. I do want to give a shout out to the working group members that are composed of a number of residents here in Foxborough. This community has a tremendous breadth and depth of talent in multiple areas. So thankfully, we were able to get a good group of residents working together to try to guide this vision, to do the grunt work of talking to developers, talking to builders, and figuring out what is feasible, what is appropriate, and what they as residents would want to see in this area. So obviously, we had a lot of different comments through the process from a lot of different stakeholders, and this group had to address all of these groups. Residents, they told us that they wanted things like walkability, amenities and services. They wanted to preserve history and preserve green space. They wanted residential that reflects what was there. They wanted things like medical offices and other types of establishments in this area. We talked to developers, and they said that new build homes would need to be around 2,000 square feet minimum in order to attract buyers today, and the price points that it costs to build new homes. This is higher than we were hoping. We were hoping for more modest single-family homes that really reflected the surrounding environment. At the same time, you can't write zoning that is infeasible in reality. It has to reflect something that can actually get built. Otherwise, you'll end up with either vacancies or dilapidated uses or undesirable uses. The second thing that we heard from developers were that cost constraints are heavy on the area where the post-war factory was demolished last year. There was a lot of discussion about that at the community engagement event. The bottom line there is that, yes, there are a lot of cost considerations to anything being developed there. That said, that doesn't mean that it's completely infeasible or unable to be done. It would take probably a lot of money, and developers will acknowledge that. But they said that there could potentially be ways to make it work. So that's an area that the working group wanted to be a little more flexible on use to try to get something there. Just anecdotally, I've heard from multiple residents that live in the neighborhood that the sound of the train is a lot louder now, that there are no buildings there to dampen it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of residents would prefer having something built there as opposed to having it the way it is now. And there are other things that could be considered for it, like, just sodding it over and creating like a park if that's feasible. But, that we wanted to be flexible on the use in that area because it's definitely a sensitive area. Finally, the current owner. You need to consider that, on the other end, there's a private real estate transaction that's going to be taking place. Obviously, the seller wants money. They want to have a little more flexibility in use because they think it would attract buyers. They definitely want clear regulatory language. That started this whole process. Was they wanted direction from the town of Foxborough of what is feasible, what would residents support, because they don't want to go to their real estate folks and try to sell the land if it's something that the residents would balk at. So they did want the town to lead a process to vision what could happen in the future. Finally, they want as few buyers as possible, ideally 1 to 2. So what you're going to be looking at is going to be a cohesive campus-style development. At the end of the day, if it's just 1 or 2 developers, they'll be working in tandem with a shared vision for this area. So honestly, I think that's a good thing from the town's perspective, that they want as few buyers as possible. From their perspective, it's less legal fees and less negotiations and all that. So that brings us to our concept plan and our draft regulatory language. The draft regulatory language, you have it right in front of you. There's a lot of important stuff in there. That's going to be the actual piece that's adopted in the bylaw. But for illustrative purposes, it makes sense to have a concept plan that indicates what this could look like built to the absolute maximum density that is allowed under these guidelines. So there's a lot of back and forth and tinkering with this and testing it and trying to figure out, are there uses that can kind of slip through the lines and we're not aware of what could potentially go in there. So this has been tested pretty thoroughly by engineers and attorneys that sit on the working group. So my thanks are to them for sure. But I do want to let residents know that this is not a blueprint for what will be developed as it stands right here. This is just a concept plan that shows you what could potentially be built there. Once the zoning's laid out, the developers come to us with the plans. We don't dictate to them exactly what they're going to build. So it's broken up into subsections, and I want to go through some of these because some of them are a little different from what we have typically seen. The wooded area is all wetlands. It's undevelopable anyway, so we're not going to really spend a lot of time on that. But there are 2 parcels that are very similar to each other, and they're new to Foxborough. These are dense single-family homes located on a small common lot. It's very similar to what you may have heard of called a cottage court typology. And the way it works is that the developer will build on one lot all of these single-family homes, which are then condoed out to individual residents. So it'll look like a condo on the assessor's information, right? But you'll have your single-family home, you'll have your garage, same as everything else, but you'll also have an HOA fee that maintains roadways and common infrastructure and things like that. So it's definitely, the homes are very densely populated in here, but they remain single-family homes. They have to have a minimum 10 feet on either side of them. So I grew up in a house with a 10-foot side yard. It's a pretty common post-war density. But the houses are a little bigger, like I said, than what we had originally hoped for. But we wanted to show what's feasible under market conditions at the highest density possible. So 2,000 square foot homes, one lot, common lot, condoed out individually to the owners. Now the second piece of land is what we're calling Parcel B, and that is going to be single-family homes that are traditional single-family homes on their own lot that's owned individually. And these are just smaller than what our R15 zoning will allow. So the lot sizes are limited to 8,000 square feet, and again, this is in the hopes that we can make these homes a little more affordable than the market rate these days. And individual homes, again, restricted to that 2,000 square feet number. And each of these zones is capped at a certain number value of homes. So in this one, it's 26 homes. In the previous slides, I think it was 27 on the left side and 28 on the right. So about the same number of homes, but you can see it's a little larger of an area. So concept plan for the parcel D, this is the really complicated one. It includes the old Foxborough Company building, that historic building, as well as the slab where the post-war factory buildings were. Because of the need to consider that it's going to be really expensive to develop anything on that slab, the working group decided to grant a little bit of flexibility. The only area on this entire map where any kind of multifamily housing can be constructed is within the historic building, and that's because we were told that's really the only viable future use for that will actually keep it looking good and in decent shape and preserve that asset. So that's going to be mixed use with a ground floor commercial use and residential above. Capped at 92 units, both in that building and over the concrete slab. So maybe they do 80 within the building and then single-family homes on the slab up to 12 of those. But the caveat is that number one, you can't have multifamily on the concrete slab area, and number two, that they're at R15 density, so they're a little less dense than what you see across the street. So that's kind of the compromise position. But developers could also build those traditional types of uses in the neighborhood of like office, retail, some industrial uses, though the regulatory language does proscribe certain uses, so definitely look through that. Actually, I'll just very quickly list some of the ones that are written out of the underlying zoning, because I think that's very important. Usually with an overlay district, you can build what's in the underlying zoning as well. In this one, because of the considerations for the residents, because it's such a dense single-family neighborhood as is, certain uses were proscribed. So that would be motor vehicle fuel facilities, gas stations, temporary parking lots, commercial storage garages, self-storage mini warehouses, auto storage, stadiums, et cetera, lodging, and mills, boat storage, et cetera. So like there are some undesirable uses from the perspective of the working group residents that they wouldn't want next door, so they wrote those into the overlay district as, yeah, there's general industrial, but we don't want you to build these things. So that's, there will be more opportunities to ask questions. I just wanted to get a little bit of information out there here too. I'm trying to get it out as many places as I can. I did upload that virtual presentation on the town's website. Community engagement session March 18th at 6 p.m. at the community center. The planning board will have its public hearing on March 26th, sometime after 7 p.m. at town hall. That would be a great opportunity for anybody to present their last minute, like, I've got a serious problem with X or Y or Z. That public hearing can then lead to like a modification at town meeting. So keep that in mind. And there's also going to be a common view panel discussion. It's to be determined. We're in early stages of scheduling that one, but there will be a lot of opportunities to weigh in. And anytime, I've already gotten several calls and emails, and I really appreciate that. So reach out anytime you have feedback for this process. That's it for Neponset.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you. He only has 3 more.
Yeah, 3 more. But the rest of them are really easy compared to that one, I promise. The next one that you have is the second longest, and it's only 2 pages compared to that one. So this is a definitions and corrections submission for the zoning bylaws, and this is done periodically. Barney, our zoning board of appeals chair, will take a look at some of the language that's in our bylaws and find certain areas that need to be clarified or spelled out in more detail or consistent across sections. And that's all this is. Minimum yards and minimum yard setbacks, the definition of things like front yards, areas where single-family dwelling, we didn't have that defined. It's sometimes it's stuff that's self-evident, but it makes sense to clarify and to just spell it out in black and white. It just closes those loopholes. It's just easier. But there's nothing in here that I think anybody's gonna have any big issues with. It's just housekeeping, really. All right. Next one?
Yep.
The next one is the Design Review Overlay District. This came up last year. The Design Review Overlay District is roughly, it's a little larger than the Foxborough Common area, and it really seeks to preserve the historic architecture and feel of Foxborough's uptown area, right? And last year, there were a couple of projects that took place where there was a disagreement between the building commissioner and the board that oversees the design review district regarding different projects and the ability to enforce language that was set forth by the design review district. And it makes sense to tighten the language and just to strengthen it. So there are two things that we're going to be doing. Number one, there was some back and forth about the definition of multifamily, and we want to just clarify that from this point onward, two-family dwellings will be under the domain of the design review board. So before, multifamily typically involves 3+ under the building code, so duplexes were kind of cut out, but a couple of projects came in that were duplex related that the design review board would have liked more influence over. The second item is the enforceability piece. So the design review board, it doesn't have a clear vessel for enforceability. The building commissioner, it's up to his discretion right now which items to enforce and which ones not to, and he tends to err on the side of the town not getting sued, which gives him a little bit more conservative a take on things. But to be able to enforce more specific items from the design review board, we are exploring how to build that into a site plan process. It doesn't neatly fit within our site plan as it's written right now in the guidelines, so this language is not 100% set in stone by any means. Barney's still working on that, but there's going to be a modified site plan requirement that will force any project that's deemed to meet the review standards by the board to go through the planning board as well. That way, the planning board can issue a requirement for them to include the lists of items from the design review board. And the language as it's written now gives the planning board the ability to not list certain items that the design review board puts forth, but they have to include in writing why they are not passing along those requirements. So it'll give it a better, more explicit process and hopefully more enforceability. So that's the second piece. And again, the final language, hopefully it'll be circulated next week to everybody. The final one is the easiest one. Well, it's hardest process, but the easiest item that's here. I just have like an info sheet for you. The adoption of the 2025 master plan update. It is available on the town of Foxborough's website. It's listed as draft, all caps, and then 2025 master plan under the master plan tab of the town's website. So residents can look at it and see what changes they want to make or anything like that. But there are a couple main points that we found talking to the residents over the last year. First and foremost, there's an overall de-emphasis on housing production in the town, but residents do recognize that senior housing will emerge as a real need within the next decade. Secondly, there was an affirmation generally of the growth node strategy, which focuses economic growth along the town's primary corridors, Route 140, Central Street, Foxborough Common, Chestnut Green, and Route 1. And that's done in order to preserve the lower density residential neighborhoods elsewhere. So that was kind of reaffirmed by the residents as, yeah, that's a good idea. The third point, there's an increased desire for more connection to Foxborough's conservation land and waterways. This came up at every single event that we held, and an increased desire for town event and activity programming. People want to get out there and enjoy their community. Finally, we noted an increased interest in safe, active transportation routes for pedestrians and bicyclists. We had several people come up and tell us about, dangerous walks that they make in order to get to work or to buy things or whatever, and it would just be more pleasant if they could walk instead of driving if it's less than half a mile away. So the public hearing for that will also be on March 26th through the planning board. So that's a great opportunity for residents to weigh in on that as well.
Is there a time on that?
The time limit?
Of the planning board meeting?
No, not yet. Our meeting was canceled last week. We'll be scheduling all of those at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Catherine?
Eight, the next one?
Yes, so this is earth removal, and I decided not to put Catherine's, had plenty of zoning on her plate, so I took this one over. This one is simply to, when I was on the planning side of town hall, it always confused me, and I wondered why the select board was the permit granting authority for earth removal. Any other town I've worked in, it's a land use body that handles it, you know, have a project go through the planning board and have them review everything and then have it come to you. And you have to all read a site plan, figure out whether you agree with the earth removal and then figure out if it's compatible with the planning or other approval. It just didn't make sense. So I went ahead and took our existing one and I tightened it up a bit. I did send it over to Chris Gallagher, DPW. I sent it over to Bill Buckley because he's the one who uses it the most. I circulated it, you know, throughout town hall and came up with this. I did not make an effort to make it overly onerous. The prior version was not overly onerous. And one of the things that's been successful with our land disturbance bylaw is that if you're already going through site plan or special permit for a project, we don't want to add another layer of permit to that. So we're doing the same thing with earth removal. If you're going through a site plan or a subdivision project where you have grading and they're reviewing engineering plans, then that's sufficient, and if whatever board is reviewing it determines that earth removal is required, they may do so. This would be more of a standalone earth removal project, because we're trying not to just add layer upon layer of permits to some of these projects, so. Feel free to review it. It is not zoning, so it does not require a public hearing, but I'm always open to feedback and input, and again, we all just kind of put our heads together to figure out, you know, what to tighten up, what to loosen up, but basically to get it away from the select board and over to the planning board where it belongs. You're welcome.
Chris Gallagher? Sorry, you want to go?
Going through puberty.
The good news is, by the way, is Lisa is available, so now we're only waiting for the World Cup crew.
Okay.
So we do have Lisa somewhere.
All right. So I have the sewer map amendment article, standard article at almost every town meeting now. This time around, we only have 2 properties that have requested to be in the sewer district added to it. 235 Central Street, which is map 121, lot 26, and 54 Adams Street, which is map 110, lot 31. Both we have in as estimated capacities for a 4-bedroom property. Central Street is only a 3-bedroom, so they would probably only need 200 gallons a day. Adams Street, I think, is currently a 4-bedroom, so they would use 266 gallons a day. Adams Street would have to connect out to Morse Street. There is no sewer in that neighborhood, so they abut probably about 300 feet through the woods. They can get out to Morse Street, which is what they're looking to do.
Do they own that 300-foot area?
They are working on that.
So they're on the end of, down the very end of
In the
Adams?
cul-de-sac.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So that's it. Not much to it. They can't connect unless they're in the sewer district, so this is their first step to open up that possibility for them.
And on either one of these, is there any neighbors that are in the area that should be looking, or?
I mean, Central Street, the sewer does run from the end of Elm Street down to Spring Street.
Okay.
So any of those properties in that area could get added into it. The pipe is in the ground. There are no stubs on that main, so they would have to go all the way out to the street to make that connection.
Okay, good.
So so the homeowner has to
Yeah.
pay to have the pipe come all the way out?
Correct.
Which would be on any house if it's coming out to the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by any chance, are they reaching out to the neighbors, like anybody? I'm just thinking, like, wouldn't it be nice if there were other neighbors and maybe they could share the cost of the big, you know,
So
the 300 feet, or no?
So, I mean, Adams Street's the only one that would have that opportunity.
Yeah.
What would happen is they would then have to extend up the street.
The whole way.
Yeah, they would have to go to the far property line of the next lot in order to make it available for future. So, yes, there's some cost savings if they share, but as far as Central Street goes, there's no sharing.
You're
cost
just going to
savings there.
extend how far you have to get
Just on the
to
street.
to the wooded area to go.
Yeah.
No, on Central Street, you just have
Just
to.
on,
on Central
on
Street.
Central
Oh.
Street, it's just from the house out to the street.
Okay, yeah.
And that's just each house that would connect would have to run its own service, so there's really no cost savings there.
Yeah.
Good. Any questions?
Thanks, good.
Good.
Chris.
Thank you,
Thank
Chris.
you.
Katie said I forgot to tell you about the other article. Sorry, I got excited that I was done. As I mentioned in my last report, I think, we have to go to town meeting for the liquor licenses that you've already voted to seek, so we would be keeping that on town meeting warrant so that we could seek 3 additional alcohol licenses for Uptown. My apologies, I forgot that one.
That's why we have Katie here.
I know, she keeps us all on track.
And then I'll close out. So we're gonna have town council update our bylaw, which is Article 5, Chapter 20. And that's just to bring us up to the current state law, just to make sure our annual license holders pay up on their real estate, water, and personal properties when their renewals go through at the end of the year. So we're not chasing everyone on New Year's Eve before I send out their licenses. And that's an effort between me and our police department.
Thank you. As I don't see representatives from the Craft Group or FIFA or Boston 2026, why don't we move to the town manager's update and try to clear some of these other things off. We do have that scheduled for 8 o'clock, so we still have 20 minutes.
Let me find my town manager's update, somewhere I have it in here. Can you do some action items while I
Sure,
get
sure.
it?
Sure.
I wasn't ready.
Okay.
Okay, motion to approve 8 one-day beer and wine licenses for B Hoppy Brewing LLC, doing business as Wormtown Brewery for April 3rd, 4th, 10th, 11th, 17th, 18th, 24th, 25th, 2026, from 7 PM to 11 PM at 200 Patriots Place for the comedy scene.
Second, but for discussion. Is there is a number of, there is a max that they can have for, through the chair, I'm sorry.
Yep.
There's a max, though, that they can have.
There's a
One day.
max for one manager of record, which is 30, and then we're moving to a new manager of record.
Okay.
We haven't hit 30, but
Okay.
because they're doing one for the comedy scene and one is the other that we saw last for the New England Theater. But
Gotcha.
yes, you are correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So motion second. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none.
Motion to approve 11 one-day beer and wine licenses for Normandy Farms Campground LLC, doing business as Normandy Farms Campground for April 11th and 25th, May 2nd, 30th, June 13th and 27th, July 22nd, August 29th, September 19th, October 3rd, November 7th, 2026, from noon to 4 at 72 West Street for Beer Fest series.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none.
Motion to approve a change of hours application for Foxborough Hospitality LLC, doing business as Six String Grill and Stage, located at 253 Patriot Place, to serve alcohol starting at 10 a.m. on Sundays.
Second.
Any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Motion to appoint Ryan Spinney to the Commission on Disability for a term to end May 31st, 2029.
Second.
Just a quick one. Is this filling a vacancy or is this
Just in addition to.
just, okay. Okay, motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
Motion to appoint Emily Adler to the Council on Aging and Human Services Advisory Board for a term to end May 31st, 2029.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion to approve Select Board meeting minutes from March 3rd, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm ready
Still
now.
have 15 minutes, all right.
I can go. So, for town manager's update, Bob Worthley, our water superintendent, and Chris Gallagher, DPW director, submitted another PFAS treatment plan consideration for funding from Congressman Akaklas's office and through their community projects for the Mass 4 district. So we are going to be seeking more funding through the federal appropriation package. It usually takes a year or two, but we are continuing, and they are continuing to pursue funding. This, for the strategic plan update, the Polco surveys went out. I don't know if anybody got one. I know a couple people did. I got an angry email about it being too long. So, so that's how I knew it went out. At 5 a.m. this morning, that's how I learned that it was out on the street. So, you got one?
I got one, but I didn't go into it yet.
Okay. Oh, you got chosen?
I got one too.
You got chosen too?
Yeah.
Did you come in today's mail?
You guys didn't get chosen?
Check my mail.
Congratulations.
Yesterday's, I think.
And just to remind folks that if you didn't get one of the 3,500 statistically significant surveys, then you still will be in, your voice does matter, and it will be part of the whole pool. The surveys will go out to the rest of the community later, but for right now, we're just doing the statistically significant part. World Cup update, we're gonna get into that. I don't know, I saw George Bell here. I don't know, I had a Stadium Advisory Committee meeting Thursday night. Is that gonna, we didn't post that, right? So that's a no. So cancel that. Good news. Reminder that short-term rentals and selling of parking spaces without a commercial parking license is not allowed in the town of Foxborough. We do have our Capital Improvement Planning Committee meeting this weekend, Saturday morning, 8:30 a.m. on Zoom. Who wouldn't want to be there? Expect you all there. Our annual town meeting warrant review will be April 27th at noon, right here. Annual town meeting, May 11th at 7 p.m. at the high school. And then I do have a question for you all, and you don't have to answer me now, but to give some thought, Rep. Chason has sent an email asking for the community's legislative priorities. So I just thought give it some thought. If you had anything you wanted to jot down and send an email over to me, I haven't had a chance to respond to him, but figured I'd share it with you. We could brainstorm some ideas if we have any priorities. And then lastly, on the town common, the JC's concerts on the common licenses are going to be approved for June 11th, 18th, 25th, July 2nd, July 16th, the 23rd and the 30th, August 6th and 13th, with rain dates if needed of August 20th and 27th. Public safety has signed off. And then the Boyden Library is having their teddy bear picnic on August 1st at 11 a.m. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Still a few minutes. Just 2 items under the Board of Selectmen update. I wanted to announce that the Select Board approval of the memorandum of agreement between the Town of Foxborough and the Foxborough Police Association, FCOP, Local 379, regarding staffing consideration for the 2026 FIFA World Cup on February 25, 26. And the second one, which is similar, is the announcement for the memorandum of agreement between the Town of Foxborough and the Foxborough Professional Firefighters Association, IAFF Local 2522, regarding the staffing considerations for FY26 FIFA World Cup on February 25th as well. Basically, what the 2 memorandums do is their compensation level for a special event. So, which is what we posted in the past. Does anybody else have any updates or things for?
I just wanted to mention, I'm sure everyone's heard. Amy, I see you have that look on your face. Did I beat you to the punch?
No, go ahead.
Obviously, we lost a very special woman. Mrs. Roberts passed away from Roberts Funeral Home. I'm sure everybody has an unbelievable story. I mean, any wake I've ever been to, whether it's a family member, whatever, she was just unbelievable. She always, so kind. You'd walk in there, smile. She had so much compassion. She, in the worst time for your family, she was always a light. And just wanted this board to say we're thinking of the Roberts family right now. I don't know if I've only been in town for 28 years. Some of you guys have grown up here. But yeah, she was, I don't know. She was one of a kind.
Very special person.
Very special person. So I don't know if anybody has anything else you want to share. I just thought we should acknowledge her. That's all.
Amy, anything? Yep.
Yeah, I just want to thank Representative Auchincloss. He had a little mini town meeting last Sunday. Bill and I attended. It was it's just great to see someone like Rep. Auchincloss go out into the community and really just purely question and answers and hear what the community has to say. I know he's done it in Attleboro and a lot of other places in his district, but it was well attended, and I want to thank Rep. For coming to Foxborough last Sunday.
He's out there all, he
Totally
really is,
out
like,
there.
you know, you get the, if you want to join whether it's a telephone conversation, he truly wants to know what people are
Yeah.
thinking, for sure.
Paige, did we see anybody out there?
Yeah, they're out there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Do they want to come in?
Well, they're trying to do something with their thumb drive. I told them to hurry, but.
All right, I'm going to take a picture of them.
Everyone say cheese.
Hello.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Peterson.
Can you send Peter Tan the Zoom link? Nice. How are you?
Are you ready?
We need Peter, who's trying to work on our IT solution here, so we have a PowerPoint that we're trying to get up on the screen.
Great.
Thank you for your patience.
No problem.
Yeah.
And do it whatever. Oh, you got it on?
One of my buddies looked me up and said, "Is that your dad on X last time?" I said, "Yes, it was."
I know. I just can't believe it.
I'm getting a gazillion of those. And a lot of them are like, who's that woman in the yellow sweater next to Doc that's just as...
I know, because my music doesn't.
She's doing good.
Yeah.
That's what April or May.
The thing is just, I don't know, well, now with everything that's going I thought you meant, when is she coming?
Oh, yeah,
Because
no.
we're talking about.
Yeah. I've got to
So the play is beginning of May.
Oh, yeah.
I'll let you know.
What's going on with your son?
Everybody's good.
And holding pattern. It stinks like a bit hurt. I might have said. I'm confused.
Dylan is.
That is crazy.
Did they upgrade it to, these little cubbies from the picture? Oh, yeah.
Once you go Cubby, you never go back.
It was crazy, yeah.
I wonder how much that was, though, because I want to go to Japan, but I don't think I can afford it. I don't like what it seems.
What's that?
1,300
Yeah,
round trip,
I know what that is.
but they use points to upgrade. So I don't know how much points they use to upgrade.
Because those are the ships that actually need to fly. The ones that can't. I kept looking, I'm actually.
You're not gonna go to France first class again?
Oh, I am. Oh, no, I am, but that's not my hand.
True, that's only 6 hours, not,
Yeah, 7.
yeah, this would be
It was him.
18 hours.
If we'd known there was going to be IT on the test, we would have brought our teenage kids. So. Thank you for your patience.
Just names and who you're representing, so.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Peter Tam with Golston and Stores on behalf of Boston Soccer 2026. With me, my colleague Gary Ronan, also from the law firm. And on behalf of Boston Soccer 2026, Mike Lloyd is here, the president. We appreciate a few minutes of your time this evening, genuinely. I think it's important this evening just to spend a few minutes and clarify the responsibilities of the parties and how we're going to work forward and get this done on May 17th. We understand that the hearing is not yet open, and that will be scheduled for the 17th, and we do have some work to do. But we want to report on progress, and we want to continue our work so that this board is satisfied come the 17th, that in terms of the town, its residents, public safety, health, order, is all protected. That's fundamental, that's essential, that is our common goal. The success of these events depends on it. So I'm going to try to chew gum and talk. I'm not very good at this, so Gary and I will alternate, but we're going to talk first about responsibilities. Gary and I were not before you 2 weeks ago, and I think it's important that we clarify responsibilities. That was clearly something we heard from this board and from the public. So we represent Boston Soccer. Boston Soccer is not the applicant. They're not the licensee. FIFA and their affiliates are the licensee. And that is because they have exclusive control over the stadium and the stadium property throughout the duration. They have to be. They are essential that they are the licensee. You want them to be the licensee. Boston Soccer is not, but I would characterize our role as a close cooperating partner. So you see here, Boston Soccer is the host city committee, and Boston Soccer is a nonprofit. We are responsible for supporting FIFA in all of the practical coordination that's required to pull this off. So when it comes time to talking about responsibility for funding of public safety, that rests with Boston Soccer. That rests with us. I'm going to pause there. I hope that's clear. We understand, and Gary and I were before this board several years ago, we understand your responsibilities, and we appreciate your genuine concerns about the town. We know what your responsibilities are under these statutes because we helped create the structure that is running so well at the stadium for all other events. And we appreciate the hard work that goes into this. We appreciate the chief's hard work that goes into every event that is scheduled and planned for. We know the amount of coordination that goes into these events. We also understand what your responsibility is, and your focus in 2 weeks' time, when you're considering this license, is to focus only on public safety, health, order, and nuisance. That is what your regulations say, and that is reiterated in the statutes. And rightfully so. And every license that you've issued, you've focused on those issues. So an application was made by FIFA, and a lot of work has been done on behalf of the town since that application was made. These are the essential terms of World Cup. And essentially, Mike can speak to any questions you have, but it's very important for the board to understand. If you have questions about the operation, and most of those answers have been provided, there's been a deep dive by all the town departments, and we really genuinely appreciate their involvement and collaboration. 7 events over 7 days, but extending, we understand this, for an extended time. The matches begin on the 13th of June and they end on the 9th. But obviously we understand that public safety, preparation, and training is going to occur before then. We understand that FIFA will have an exclusive use period over the stadium and the property beginning in mid-May. We are confident that these events can be safely accommodated within the stadium with the collaboration of public safety at local, state, and federal levels. So this is hard to read even for me, and I have somehow the only person in my family without glasses. But the board knows this, but for the benefit of those that aren't as intimately involved, board members, public safety officials, town council, who's available here, have all been heavily involved in working with us, and we appreciate those efforts. We know that planning for these events, which has been taking years, does put a strain on the town. We understand that and we appreciate it. We know the review that has been done by every town department, and we have responded to every operational issue that has been raised. And I would say they're largely addressed. And we have the benefit of working with the chiefs who have established very clearly what the appropriate staffing protocols are, as they do for every stadium event. And those obligations are on the licensee to take care of. The chiefs have also identified a number of equipment and support apparatus that is needed because of the unique nature of these events. We have those, the board has them, and we're working towards resolution on those items. So staffing and equipment are the responsibility ultimately of the licensee and their partners. So we know what is necessary to protect safety, health, and order based on the chief's determinations. And I think the chiefs and all the public safety officials involved are prepared for contingencies. And then we've had the benefit of working with you as we have in the past And there is a draft license agreement, which is ultimately what this board will consider. That's been prepared on behalf of the town, and it's under review. We've just recently got some additional comments, and we're incorporating them. We anticipate working with you and with town council to resolve remaining issues in a timely way so that you're satisfied with that license in 2 weeks' time. So I think, Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point to kind of walk through next steps. And I think the most important thing for the board is to make sure we reserve enough time to answer your questions.
Peter, can I ask one question? I don't know if I'm a little confused. You said that FIFA is the licensee, but then you just said the licensee was responsible for the funding, right?
You're right, Ms. McGowan.
Yeah.
I oversimplified. When I said the licensee, Boston Soccer is ultimately responsible.
Okay, all right,
The licensee, right?
FIFA is the licensee, but
okay.
you can think of FIFA and Boston Soccer as being in complete alignment.
Okay.
Right. I think the right way to think about this is FIFA is the licensee, and as Peter said, that's because they're putting on the event, right? They're hosting the event, they're responsible for the logistics and what's going on the field and all that stuff. FIFA, and this is the way the FIFA World Cup games are happening across the country, there are these host organizations that are the local organization that's partnering with FIFA to help do the logistics, to help interface with local boards like this one here, to get permits and approvals and to make sure public safety is taken care of. So in that case, in this case, that's Boston Soccer 2026. And so they have an agreement with each other that provides how they interact with each other. I think from the board's perspective, FIFA is the applicant, but Boston Soccer 2026 is certainly willing to be, call them what you want in the license, the supporting partner, or something like that. And it's willing to have obligations put on it too in the license. And that we think is critical because, Mr. Tam and I were not here at the last meeting a couple weeks ago, but we watched the video. And the thing that rings loud and clear is you all wanted an answer to a very simple question, which is, where's the money coming from? Who is going to make sure that the town is not left holding the bag if you pay for police and fire and this equipment, and for whatever reason, the federal grant money doesn't come through? And we want to give you a very clear answer to that question. I will say, no, there is no reason to think that the grant money is not coming through. I mean, that's what it was for, it's allocated, and we know that it's in process. But we understand your concern about the town not holding the bag if something happens. And the answer to your question, who is going to backstop this obligation if for whatever reason the federal money doesn't come through, is Boston Soccer 2026. Notwithstanding the fact that it is not the applicant, it is willing to commit to backstop those obligations and to pay for everything that the chiefs have said is necessary to hold these events safely. And that is the staffing by police and fire and the equipment. And we'll talk more about those two pieces. But the thing I want to be very clear about is the answer to your question is Boston Soccer 2026. Now, there was a comment at the last meeting. Well, what is this Boston Soccer 2026? Does it have money? What's standing behind it? Let me address that. The answer to that question is, does it have money? Yes. Boston Soccer 2026 actually has a substantial amount of money in the bank right now that it is using to facilitate its work on the event. In addition, Boston Soccer 2026 has a commitment from Craft Sports and Entertainment to fund any shortfall that Boston Soccer 2026 may have that would allow it to meet its obligations to the town. So the way we think this can and should be structured is that in the event license, you can provide that Boston Soccer 2026 is responsible to pay all of the public safety costs. And you will understand, because it will be provided to you, I believe tomorrow is the plan, but I don't want to promise anything that, doesn't live up to happening. you will be provided with a commitment letter from Crafts Sports and Entertainment to Boston Soccer 2026 that says, if you have any shortfall, we're going to give you the money so that you can pay the town. That is your security blanket, because you have legitimate concerns about making sure the taxpayers of the town aren't footing the bill. That's totally fair. And we are here to tell you that we are addressing that concern in this way. Now, with respect to the substantive, and we're going off script here a little bit, but that's okay. This is the important stuff. With respect to the substance of what's required, okay, the chiefs have determined, and they're the experts, right? We're not. We just said, chiefs, tell us what you need. They've determined that a certain level of staffing, police, fire, other public officials, is required. What we propose with respect to payment of that, in order to make sure the town doesn't have any liquidity issues, you have to pay in the next 2 weeks your firefighters and your police officers who were here, and you don't have the money yet because the federal money hasn't come in yet. In order to address that, what I'll call a liquidity concern, what Boston Soccer 2026 is willing to do is pay within 2 days, 2 business days of being invoiced. So the way this can work is you have one of the soccer games. The next day, you send an invoice to Boston Soccer 2026. Within 2 business days, Boston Soccer 2026 pays it in full.
And I think it's worth just pausing there to make sure that you understand that commitment, because it's unusual. Typically, as we understand it, and some in this room may know better than I, it takes up to 30 days for a stadium event for processing. So this is going to kickstart that. This is supposed to eliminate any concern about liquidity. And that can be reflected in the license.
And we think it makes sense in this instance because we understand this is a bigger event, right? We're talking about an amount of police and fire safety that is larger than what you have for a normal football game, something like that.
And it's prolonged. We understand that. I think, Ms. McGowan, you brought that up at the last session. So that's not, that's well understood, and we do appreciate that this is a sustained effort.
So we think that ought to adequately, that commitment and putting that in the license ought to address concerns about payment for the police and fire details. And remember also, all these things that we're saying you can put in the license, those are going to be conditions of the license, right? This is an important point. And what that means is if you don't get paid, you can terminate the license. The next soccer game doesn't happen until you get paid. That's what you decide to do. So you have that control.
And that's a standard condition.
Right, that's in all event
You've
licenses.
always included that in your licenses.
Now, with respect, so that I was just talking about the fire and police details. So we also have some requests from the chief, or they've determined, I should say, that certain equipment is necessary. The commitment that Boston Soccer 2026 will make with respect to the commitment is it will ensure that all of the equipment that the chiefs have said they need will be there and available by June 1st, which is about 2 weeks in advance of the first event. And I see a shaking head. Would you like to ask something about that?
No, it's not acceptable. For us to do what the chiefs need takes time, first of all, for installations, for programming, for training. It takes, time to get the materials. So, we have clearly, and we've done it for a while now, clearly put out when that list has to be acquired by. And quite honestly, some of it has already passed the dates. The balance of it will be due just before the 17th meeting for us to be able to successfully say we can accomplish the goals that the public safety plan calls for. So, waiting to June 1st is unacceptable, and it is our lease currently that we've proposed. So I think you need to rethink that one.
Well, I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not saying we're going to wait until June 1st. What I'm saying is the guarantee will be that all of the equipment is there and available no later than June 1st. And I think the way it would work is discussions would start, they've already been ongoing, but discussions will continue in earnest going forward, and certainly once the license is issued. And the idea is that Boston Soccer 2026 will work with the chiefs to identify the best source for every piece of material or equipment that's needed, and make sure it's here, and make sure it's what they want, what they need, what they've determined they need, and it's here on time. So, this is an event license, right? Respectfully, I don't think the board needs to, I don't want to use the word micromanage, but no other words coming to mind. Every detail about, well, when exactly do you have to order this, piece of equipment or that piece of equipment? That really should be in coordination, determined by coordination between the chiefs and Boston Soccer 2026. In your event license, if you simply say, the equipment has to all be there to the satisfaction of the chiefs no later than, we think June 1st makes sense, but pick a different date if you want. And again, if we get to that date and the equipment's not there and the chiefs aren't satisfied, you can say, okay, the games don't happen, the event doesn't happen. That's the level of control that you have.
So I don't really think you're hearing us or listening. Boston 2026 has nothing to do with the security plan that the chiefs have put together. It's not up to them to make decisions against it. It's not up to them to make determinations if something is satisfactory or not. It is strictly in the guise of our chiefs for the public safety security plan. So they are the ones who will dictate the requirements, just like we've done with every other license we've had, with the Craft Sports and Entertainment Group. And that, that's where we stand on this. I think we stand very firm as a group that those resources have to be put in play. And the chief has to have time to work with it, and with his staff and with other agencies, as you said. He's involved with every agency, whether it's federal, state, or the local people. So that's really where we are. We're not in some kind of discussion about what Boston 2026 thinks about our security or when they think it should be delivered.
No, Mr. Chairman, we appreciate that. But what I'll say is this: in every license that this board has issued, you have never examined. I think you're exactly right. We're not questioning, we're not making opinions about equipment that's necessary. That's the chief's determination. What we do know is that that list and that equipment is evolving. It changes. We've seen changes. We've seen adjustments. I think through continued collaboration, in the next weeks, we shall see how resolution is met. Some of that equipment may not be necessary to purchase if it's available from partners. I know the chief is active in this right now, and I know that a number of conversations are ongoing with regional and state partners. So I think on this issue, I'm confident that we can reach resolution on that issue in the coming weeks. And I appreciate the urgency. On some of these issues, we are committed to helping acquire those materials that are not available, right? But, and it's not for us, as you rightly point out, it's not ultimately the board, it's for the chiefs, right? And so what I'm confident in is based on our experience with public safety here in finding resolution. We want this to be safe and secure, like everyone else in this room, and it will be. But you just have to give this issue some time.
May I,
With all due-
through the,
Sure, go ahead, Doc.
with all due respect, this has been going on for months. Months. The discussions with what our chiefs need has been, the communications, the meetings, 6 hours a day, Zoom meetings. I don't understand why we are sitting here again today, and I said the same thing 2 weeks ago, without a confirmed commitment from you guys to give our chiefs what they feel they need. It seems like to me, a simple little board member that I am, that the experts are telling you what they need, and you're trying to nickel and dime them.
No,
No,
we're
but-
saying every piece of equipment will be
but-
available.
Yeah, but you're saying, but you might be able to get it here, you might be able to get it there. These guys need it now. They
And,
need it now.
and I'm going to say this again. We stated this since the beginning. This is their determination to buy. This is their responsibility to buy. This is not your responsibility to buy. They need to get exactly what they need and want. They don't need something to show up that doesn't meet their needs 100%. And, you know, if again, $1.5 million is such a stretch for a 7 series, FIFA tournament, for equipment that just basically ensures public safety, that has been the crux of our problem since day one here. I wish I could say that we just started on this whole trip here, but as the doc just said, we've been spending months. The list has only decreased based on the ability of the chief to resource some of those things, or to get some things given at a lower price than originally saying. It hasn't been a moving target in the sense that we've reduced our security needs. If anything, they've heightened security needs, but just been able to basically help the organizers of this event to have surety that we're doing the best we can price-wise to put this thing together. So there's been a lot of effort on this side, and again, I'm a little frustrated with the fact that a third party wants to be involved with the acquisition, implementation, and deployment of this stuff. That's not at all what we intend, and that's not what we're going to allow.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I guess on this issue, we're not going to solve it tonight. I think we've made some progress, and I'm the perpetual optimist, Mr. Chairman. So I agree with Dr. Elfman and that this has been, we've been at this for some time, and better minds than us have been working at it, and I think we're close. So I will take the chairman's suggestion, and we're gonna go back and we're gonna keep working. Okay, we do have. This is an opportunity for us to have a frank and open dialogue with you. We understand your position. We're not trying to micromanage. What we're saying is we're committing to those resources, but it just needs further examination. And we take this very seriously. So, I
You're
think
committing to these things on your terms. The chief has needs that you said it, all about that the chief, we're going to follow whatever they need. But then you're saying, but wait a minute, we're not gonna.
Yeah,
do
no,
it. We're gonna go and resource.
Yeah,
These
I
guys
think-
have resourced for months to try and meet the needs that change daily.
And if I may
And
add.
this is very
to-
frustrating, I'm sorry.
Add is that the resources and the staffing plan has been built in coordination with FIFA. I mean, they've been meeting with them for over a year, right? And building this plan. This plan didn't come from our team. We've heard all sorts of rhetoric out there about money grabs, equipment grabs, whatnot. This is building a plan in an extremely scary world, getting scarier by the weekend, where our team is responsible for the public safety. And they're not doing this in a vacuum. In fact, they're the experts. They do this on the regular. So they know, and they've been working with FIFA. So what they've brought forward, and they've actually cut, Chief Grace has cut quite a bit, what they've brought is what has been asked of them. In fact, I know the fire department has recommended less staffing than FIFA originally wanted, because they know the lay of the land, they know how to handle the medical situation up there. So I just want folks to realize that this was all built through a program with FIFA, through planning, and I mean this team has been working for over a year or more on this, and now we're all involved, but they've been living and breathing this for a year. So this is not something they came up with. This was FIFA built, and now we need to figure out who's going to pay for it. We need to figure it out before we spend any of the town's money or resources.
And to that, I'd like to add, the town has spent a considerable amount of money already to try to put this plan together and to try to manage this process. So, and that's money we know we're not getting back. You know, it's already been incurred, and it's just part of us doing our process, but it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I appreciate, you know, your optimism in thinking that we're closer than we think we are. But, you know, again, I hope you hear us loud and clear as to where we are. We obviously have a process for the 17th. We understand the process, and we will follow through with the process. I want to also caution you that the license that was sent through is not a document that we anticipate you're going to make wholesale changes to, because it's our license that we're issuing to you, and to be worked on from that point. We think the points have been very clear. We've worked very hard on that. We've spent a tremendous amount of time on it. In a lot of ways, it mirrors the one we have with, you know, the Craft Sports and Entertainment Group. There's a lot of the basis from there, but because of the oddity of this particular event and the significance of the issues around it, it has some other, you know, points to it. And, you know, so I think, you know, I think we've taken the time and the effort. I have to be honest with you. I really don't want to see our department spending any more time at this point until we get some final resolution to whether or not this is going to be a go. I think our chiefs and administrative teams have spent untold, and I've been walked right with them lately, so I understand exactly how much they're putting into this. And it's been 7 days a week, and it's been, you know, through a whole process. So, you know, my proposal is that we don't have them do any additional work at this point until a true plan is put in front of us that compensates us. And quite honestly, if you know, we come to the 17th and there's not a solid plan, then we'll have to deal with it at that point in time. But you know, I think our chief's spending more time at this point. I think our administrator's spending more time, other than on the license, obviously, which we have a due responsibility to do. We will. Any questions on that, any issues around that, we will work on it. But as far as continuing our efforts towards designing and developing and working through the process, you know, it's really enough.
You know, and the other thing is too, you know, Bill has taken the lead on this with Paige and the chiefs because of open meeting. The only discussions we can have about this are at this table or an executive session. So we've all been happy to, we've had to have a couple of midweek, can you come in for an hour, executive sessions to get an update. So my fear here is we're 2 weeks away. We don't meet again until the 17th. So if we come in and everything is not figured out, we're not gonna vote on this license. And then we're gonna be past our date.
We're going to vote, but
Well, oh, yeah. We'll have, I guess we'll have to vote, but I guess the thing is, the more that we get to another meeting and we just don't know anything more than we knew from the meeting before, I am sure, because, you know, this board does not want to deny this license by any means, okay? But we will if we have to.
But we will.
You know, and it's not about wanting to, but, which means we're gonna come in on the 17th, and we're gonna have to listen, and if we're not satisfied, there is no other time to tweak. And we would, I'm sure, I don't want to speak for the whole board, but we have been very good about Bill reaching out and say, hey, can everybody come in on Wednesday at 10 o'clock? And, you know, so I can give you an update, what's going on. And I'm sure we would do that, but we have 2 weeks' time, and, you know, if we come in on the 17th and we don't have the right information, we'll have no choice but to vote no. Because that, I mean, that's the date that we were given for the, you know, no, I'm not, that's what I mean, we don't want to, but each meeting, it's, okay, well, the next meeting we'll have something, or, you know, Peter, you're like, okay, we're gonna keep tweaking this. But see, Bill and Paige can be with you, but the rest of us cannot without having a meeting. So we're not privy to all that information. We're gonna come into a meeting in 2 weeks, And if one of us has a question and it can't be answered right then, there's not gonna be, let's go back and figure out. So that's, 17th is the hard date.
Yep. If
know.
I could pick up, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm done.
I wanted to say, first a comment I wanted to say, we and Boston Soccer 2026 really respect all the time that you and others have put into this project. We've seen it too, and I did not at all want to create an impression that we don't understand or appreciate all the hard work that town officials, including yourselves, have put into this process. We appreciate it as well. Our client appreciates it. I did not want to leave any impression that we weren't respectful of that. But I did want to pick up on what you were just saying, which is, your point is a very good one, which is we only have a couple weeks here to work out the rest of this. And as you say, you can't deliberate outside of the meeting. So maybe it would make sense for us to have some discussion about what else you need us to address so that we understand where your thinking is right now and we know what we have to do. So when we come back in 2 weeks, we hopefully have everything squared away to your satisfaction. So clearly, the
I
equipment.
find it hard to believe, I'm sorry, that you don't know, after all the discussions that have gone on over the last couple of months, exactly what we want.
I wasn't trying to be disrespectful with my question. I personally wasn't here for all those meetings, so forgive me if there's some piece of the discussion that I'm missing out on. But
You've not been involved with any of the Zoom meetings that have gone on between the town, the chiefs?
Let me, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and we don't need to belabor this. We've heard you. I do appreciate what Ms. McGowan is saying, and I need to outline from our perspective what the consequence would be in 2 weeks' time if we do not reach agreement. And there's a lot of words here, but your purview, as we said at the outset, is public safety, health, order, and to protect against nuisance. That's the sum total of the scope here. When we're dealing with a municipal finance issue, that's a municipal finance issue, right? This board has never conditioned or denied a license based on a municipal finance issue. So when we propose to backstop and ensure the staffing, that is going above and beyond. When we're committing, and we're not yet, we haven't resolved it, I acknowledge that. But we're saying that the equipment will be paid for. That is demonstrating that the public safety concerns will be addressed. When we've ensured that the liquidity issues have been eliminated, that cannot be a basis for denial of the license. There's a significant federal grant that is pending. KSC, as we've told you, is committed to prompt payment, faster than any license that you've ever issued. We're prepared to make some purchases that are necessary now. And we're prepared to undertake those conversations immediately. The practice of this board has been consistent with the statutes and your regulations. You've never required advance payment of anything from a licensee. We're looking for fair treatment under the law. You, as Gary said, ultimately retain control. You always have. If the materials are not there to the satisfaction of the chief, if payments come due and are not paid in accordance with the license terms, you can suspend, rescind, modify. So that's what the law says. Mr. Chairman, you know I'm an optimist, so I'm focused on this page. This is where we want to be, and it's exactly what you suggest. We want to be working with you with town council on the draft license that will reflect those requirements that your public safety officers need.
Our town council's available if you have any.
Can I ask one quick question
Sure.
or make a quick comment?
Well, I'd like Lisa, our town council, to weigh in on that. She's there.
Thank you,
there.
Mr. Chair. And with all due respect to Mr. Tam, the board has broad
Can you turn it up?
Can you ask him to turn it up? Sorry, Lisa, we just can't hear.
Okay, try again.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And for the record, Lisa Mead, I'm town council
Great,
in
thank you.
Foxborough. You're welcome. With all due respect to Mr. Tam, the board has broad discretion on this license on their determination of whether or not the applicant will be able to fulfill the public safety requirements, protect the health and welfare of those people attending the event. How they make that determination is fully at the discretion of the chair, of the board, and their past practice on what they accept or don't accept with regards to payment terms under prior licenses does not have an impact or restrain the board in any way. At this time, however, the board's not going to talk about the license and what they're going to determine to do or not to do until the opening of the public hearing. Greatly respect your position, Mr. Tam, but do disagree with it.
Can I also bring up one other point, Mr. Tam, and that's the fact that as long as I've lived in town for 37 years, I don't think the Crafts have ever given up
Sub-license.
a sub-license before. So this is a unique experience that, again, doesn't fall under protocols of what we've dealt with in the past, which has always been the craft group.
Yeah, look, we appreciate the time. And I know when our time is up. And I have a feeling, I'm looking at the chairman, and I have a feeling that we're on borrowed time. So I am going to remain an optimist, though. And I think we can get this done. We've always worked well together. And, I'm glad that you have Ms. Mead to support you, because we're confident that we can work together. And I very much appreciate what Ms. McGowan has said. We're not going to waste time here, and we'll keep you updated.
Before we end, Chief, would you like to come up, please?
Good evening, everybody. Mike Grace, the Police Chief of Foxborough. So a lot of discussion here. Or talking about public safety and the ball being in public safety's court, and public safety would make the final decision when we're 3 days away from a World Cup game. That strategy is a failed strategy. We do not wait till the week before and then force the board and public safety to cancel an event because we can't settle the matters now when we should be settling them now. We are 99 or 100 days away from hosting the largest sporting event in the world, and we're deciding or can't seem to find necessary funding for necessary equipment that's been identified in over a year and a half of planning, with thousands of hours in 14 working groups throughout the Commonwealth of Mass. So, to the board, I do have to say, waiting till June 1st is unacceptable. Please don't do that to me, because we will be in the same spot and we will not be able to say no. I just have to say that. And if the board has a question for me, I don't think this is the forum to be debating or getting into the weeds or into any detail of public safety operations, but they are very well organized, in place. I've been the incident commander for over 100 stadium events, everything from NCAA lacrosse, Army-Navy games, AFC championships, and the idea that we're 99 days away, and the simple solution is very simple. Fund what we need funded, and this issue is over tomorrow.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome. Take care. Have a good evening. Never see you before.
Want to adjourn?
Oh, sorry, motion to adjourn.
Yeah, yeah, second.
Wait a minute.
What?
Isn't there something?
Did we go through everything?
We're not adjourned. We're not adjourned.
Yep.
Okay. So, motion to adjourn.
Second.
You.
All in favor?
Aye.
Night, everyone.